The Xanthara drifted silently above a cerulean planet, its matte black hull blending seamlessly with the void of space. Inside the observation chamber, Lixia's fronds quivered with disbelief as she stared at the data stream before her. The humans had done it. Against all odds, and the wisdom of every galactic historian, they had breached the warp barrier. It must be an error, Chief Observer Tak growled, his deep-set eyes narrowing at the holographic display. No species evolves this quickly. 200 of their years ago, they were barely launching satellites. Now this? Lixia hesitated before replying, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. The data doesn't lie. The warp signatures are unmistakable. Humanity has entered interstellar space. Tak snorted, his scales glinting under the chamber's pale lights. They're a flash in the pan, Lixia. A primitive species with no concept of the complexities of galactic diplomacy or warfare. They'll burn themselves out before they become a nuisance. But Lixia wasn't so sure. The Venerii scientist had been assigned to monitor Earth for decades, and in that time, she'd watched something unprecedented unfold. Humans didn't follow the gradual, cautious path of most species that achieved sentience. They didn't spend millennia perfecting technology or debating ethical implications before leaping forward. Instead, they tore through barriers with reckless abandon, driven by a blend of desperation, curiosity, and sheer audacity. She turned back to the display, highlighting the faint traces of humanity's first warp-capable vessel. The signature was crude, inefficient, and prone to instability, but it worked. And it wasn't alone. Other signals suggested Earth's primitive fleet was already testing short-range interstellar jumps. I wouldn't dismiss them so quickly, Lixia said, her fronds curling thoughtfully. Their adaptability is unlike anything we've observed. They thrive on chaos, Chief. They might surprise us all. Tak's eyes narrowed further. Surprises are dangerous, Lixia. The Galactic Council doesn't appreciate unpredictability. If humanity continues down this path, they'll force the Council's hand. And you know what happens to rogue species. The implication hung heavy in the air. Lixia suppressed a shiver, her vibrant cyan scales dimming slightly. The Council's response to emerging threats was always swift and brutal, assimilation or annihilation. Perhaps, she said cautiously, we should observe a little longer before making that judgment. Humanity has potential, more than any species I've studied. They might not be a threat but an asset. Tak let out a dry laugh. An asset? To the Venerii, maybe. But to the Council? They're a liability waiting to implode. Keep watching them if you must, but don't get too close, Lixia. This species is a passing storm, nothing more. He turned and stalked out of the chamber, leaving Lixia alone with her thoughts. Her gaze lingered on Earth's blue surface below, a swirl of clouds and continents that seemed so serene from orbit. But beneath that tranquility was a species unlike any the galaxy had ever known. In her gut, Lixia felt the storm Tak had mentioned, but it wasn't passing. It was gathering strength, and soon, it would reshape the galaxy in ways no one could predict. As if on cue, the Xanthara's sensors blared a sharp warning. Lixia's eyes darted to the console. A human warp signature had just ignited again, but this time, the coordinates didn't align with any known star system. "Where are you going?" she whispered, her fronds trembling with anticipation. The humans had vanished into the unknown. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension as representatives from the galaxy's most advanced civilizations argued over the same subject, humanity. The circular chamber, illuminated by a pale golden glow, was filled with the hum of overlapping voices, some low and guttural, others sharp and hissing. At the center of it all floated a hologram, a crude depiction of Earth, its faint warp signature pulsing like a beating heart. "They are a threat," growled Overseer Krell of the Crethan Dominion, his barbed exoskeleton glinting as he gestured toward the hologram. "A species with no understanding of their place in the galaxy, wielding technology they barely comprehend. This rabble must be extinguished before they cause irreparable damage." "Typical Crethan arrogance," hissed Ambassador Scylla of the Ashian Compact, her translucent form shimmering with irritation. "You would destroy them simply because they do not conform to your rigid expectations. What if they offer something we lack?" Overseer Krell's mandibles clicked in disdain. What could primitives offer us? Their progress is a fluke, their methods reckless. They threaten the stability we have maintained for millennia. Sitting quietly at her station, Licia of the Venerii observed the debate with growing unease. The council was treating humanity as a puzzle to be solved or a pest to be eradicated. No one here truly understood the humans, not even Licia, despite years of observation. The humans were unpredictable. That was their greatest strength and their greatest danger. Enough, boomed the voice of Chancellor Drenath, the towering Arthian who presided over the council. His deep, resonant tones silenced the room. The humans' recent warp activity is undeniable. We must decide on a course of action. Do we make contact, or do we act preemptively to neutralize the threat they pose? A murmur rippled through the chamber. The room had never been this divided. Licia felt the weight of the moment pressing on her. She knew what Krell's preemptive action would mean: orbital bombardment, complete annihilation. "I request permission to speak," she said, her voice steady but firm. The Chancellor's four glowing eyes turned toward her. "Granted, Representative Licia. Speak." Licia rose from her station, her cyan fronds glinting under the chamber's light. "Honored council members, I urge caution. Humanity's rapid technological advancement is not a fluke, nor is it blind luck. Their progress is driven by an unparalleled capacity for adaptation and innovation. Destroying them now would not only rob us of a potential ally but set a dangerous precedent." "An ally?" Krell spat, his mandibles clicking furiously. "You would risk the stability of the galaxy on a gamble?" Licia held his gaze. "It's not a gamble. It's an opportunity. Humanity's methods may seem reckless to us, but their capacity for growth suggests a potential we cannot ignore. If we destroy them, we may never know what they could become." Scylla nodded in agreement. "Licia is correct. We must observe further before making such an irreversible decision." Chancellor Drenath deliberated for a moment before issuing his judgment. "We will observe humanity for now, but only from a distance. Any further escalation on their part will force our hand." The decision was clear, but the room remained heavy with tension. As the council adjourned, Licia lingered, her thoughts racing. Humanity had bought itself a brief reprieve, but the Crethans wouldn't wait long. They were already mobilizing in secret, preparing to strike without council approval. As Licia returned to her station, a silent resolve hardened within her. If the humans were to survive, they would need more than luck. They would need someone on their side, someone willing to take risks for a species that thrived on them. Back on Earth, a new warp signal ignited. The humans, oblivious to the council's debate, were already preparing for their next leap into the stars. Licia leaned against the cold, crystalline wall of her quarters aboard the Xanthara, her fronds twitching with unease. The data streams from Earth had grown alarmingly erratic. Humanity wasn't just testing their warp drives, they were improvising, experimenting, and expanding their reach at a pace that defied reason. And now, a Venerii warship had entered Earth's solar system under the guise of observation. Licia knew better. Her console chimed, breaking her thoughts. The message was from an encrypted channel she'd set up weeks ago, a desperate contingency she never imagined she'd use. The sender was human. She hesitated, then activated the feed. The screen flickered to life, revealing a man with piercing eyes and a calm demeanor that barely masked the tension in his voice. "This is Captain Elias Drake of the Earth Defense Initiative. You've been sending us information, and while we don't fully trust your intentions, it's clear you're not like the others. If you want to help, now's the time." Licia's fronds tightened. It was the first time a human had addressed her directly. Their speech lacked the formal elegance of most species, but carried a raw, unfiltered resolve. "I warned you this would happen," Licia replied, her tone cautious but firm. "The Venerii fleet near your system is a prelude. The others will follow if you're perceived as a threat." Drake's brow furrowed. "We don't have the luxury of worrying about perceptions. They've sent spies, warships, and now this observer fleet. Tell me how to stop them." Licia's instincts screamed against what she was about to do. Aiding humans directly was treason, punishable by death. But as she studied Drake's expression, she realized what had drawn her to humanity in the first place. They were relentless, unyielding, and deeply flawed, and yet, their refusal to bow in the face of overwhelming odds was intoxicating. "There's a weakness in their formation," she said finally. "Venerii warships rely on centralized command nodes. If you disrupt their neural relays, their fleet will be crippled. But your weaponry—" "We'll manage," Drake interrupted, a ghost of a smile playing at his lips. "We have a knack for solving problems the hard way." The screen went dark, leaving Licia with a growing sense of dread. She had crossed a line, one that couldn't be uncrossed. If the Council discovered her interference, she would be cast out, or worse. But as she stared at the Earth's image on her display, she felt something else stirring within her. Hope. Hours later, the Venerii fleet moved into Earth's orbit, their silvered ships gleaming like daggers against the black void. On the bridge of the Zarenth, Fleet Commander Callus observed the planet with detached curiosity. "Primitive," Callus muttered. "They won't even see it coming." But as the Venerii ships began to deploy their gravimetric nets, an alert blared through the command deck. A swarm of projectiles, smaller than any standard weaponry, hurtled toward them from Earth's surface. "What is this?" Callus barked. The answer came too late. The projectiles detonated, unleashing electromagnetic pulses that shorted the Venerii neural relays. Their sleek, elegant ships faltered, spiraling as their systems collapsed. On Earth, Captain Drake stood in a reinforced bunker, watching the chaos unfold. "That should buy us some time," he muttered. A technician glanced at him nervously. "What about retaliation?" Drake's gaze hardened. "Let them come. We'll show them what happens when you corner humanity." Above the chaos, aboard the Xanthara, Licia watched in stunned silence. The humans had done it again, improvised, adapted, and achieved the impossible. But as her console lit up with an urgent message from the Council, her fronds coiled tightly. They knew. And now, the full weight of the galaxy's judgment was coming, not just for humanity, but for her. The Venerii fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, a trail of debris and shattered pride marking their retreat. Across the planet, celebrations erupted as humanity savored its first decisive victory against a galactic power. But in the command bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Captain Elias Drake was anything but celebratory. "We bought time," Drake said, pacing the room as holographic projections of damaged alien ships spun before him. "That's all. The Council won't see this as a warning, they'll see it as a provocation. They'll send a coalition next time." A murmur rippled through the assembled leaders and advisors. Humanity's victories, though ingenious, had left them dangerously exposed. Earth's cobbled-together defenses and untested technologies could not hold off an extended campaign. "How long before they regroup?" asked Dr. Anika Sato, a physicist and lead scientist behind Earth's fledgling warp program. "Days, if we're lucky," Drake replied grimly. "Weeks, if their bureaucracy slows them down. Either way, we need to make our next move now." "And what move is that?" Sato pressed. "We can't fight them head-on, Elias. Not with their numbers and resources." Drake stopped pacing and pointed to the center of the hologram. "We don't fight them head-on. We make them fight on our terms. They think we're unpredictable. Let's prove them right." Licia sat at her station aboard the Xanthara, her fronts twitching with tension as she monitored the fallout from Earth's defiance. The Council was in chaos, each faction debating the next steps. The Crethans demanded immediate annihilation. The Ashian Compact urged restraint. The Venerii, wounded in both pride and power, vacillated between revenge and caution. She knew what was coming. The Council would vote to send a coalition fleet, a hammer to crush humanity before it could pose a greater threat. And she knew humanity wouldn't wait for the hammer to fall. Her console chimed with an incoming message. She hesitated before opening it, fearing it might be the summons she dreaded, a call to answer for her actions. Instead, it was a direct feed from Earth. "Captain Drake," she said, her voice steady but cautious. "I assume this isn't a social call." "Not exactly," Drake replied, his tone clipped but with a glint of something resembling trust. "We need intel." "Where will they strike next?" Licia considered her response. Each word carried the weight of treason, but she'd already crossed that line. The Crethans will push for a direct assault, she said. Their tactics are brute force, overwhelming numbers. The Venerii prefer precision, surgical strikes to disable infrastructure. Together, they'll target your warp facilities and planetary defenses. Drake nodded, his expression hardening. Then we'll make those targets impossible to hit. Time for some misdirection. 3 days later, as the Cretan Venerii coalition fleet arrived in the Sol system, they found a web of conflicting signals and false targets. Earth's ingenuity was on full display. Decoy installations flared across the solar system, each mimicking critical infrastructure. Human warp-capable ships darted between asteroid fields, using hit-and-run tactics to harass the fleet. "This is madness," roared Cretan Admiral Vrax as his flagship narrowly evaded an ambush near Saturn. "They're playing games with us." On board Earth's command station, Drake watched the chaos with grim satisfaction. "They're frustrated," he said to Sato, who stood beside him. "That's when they make mistakes." The coalition fleet's mistake came hours later. Desperate to regain control, they converged on what appeared to be Earth's primary warp facility, a massive structure built into the ice of Europa. When the first Venerii ships entered orbit, the facility detonated, releasing a wave of electromagnetic energy that disabled half the fleet. In the aftermath, humanity launched its counterstrike. Drones and AI-controlled ships, hidden among the asteroid belt, descended on the coalition's crippled forces. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a statement. Licia received the Council's transmission the next morning. The coalition had retreated, licking its wounds. But the message was clear: Earth's defiance would not be tolerated. Her fronds curled tightly as she stared at the message. She had gambled everything on humanity's survival, and they had proven their resilience. But the Council would escalate. They always did. Back on Earth, Drake stood before his exhausted team, the faintest smile on his lips. "They'll come again," he said. "But now they know what we're capable of. Next time, we're not just surviving, we're winning." The Galactic Council chamber hummed with tension, its usual decorum shattered by the latest reports from the Sol system. The Crethans were livid, their warlike pride bruised. The Venerii sulked, their precision tactics rendered futile. And yet, there was no mistaking the unspoken fear permeating the room. Earth had survived again, and thrived. "This cannot stand," roared Admiral Vrax, his mandibles clashing as he glared at the Council's assembly. "The humans humiliated us with their cowardly tricks and primitive weapons. We must respond with overwhelming force." "And do what?" interjected Scylla of the Ashian Compact, her translucent form shimmering with exasperation. "Throw more ships at them to fail the same way? The humans are not primitives. They've proven that much. Their ingenuity is dangerous because it is unpredictable." "They are resourceful," Licia corrected, her voice cutting through the din. She stood taller than usual, her cyan fronds shimmering with determination. "Resourceful, not reckless. Their methods work because they adapt faster than we anticipate. Destroying them would not only be a moral failure but a strategic one." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Chancellor Drenath raised his four glowing eyes, silencing the debate with a wave of his massive hand. "Enough. The Council will deliberate on the matter. For now, all factions are ordered to stand down. Further unauthorized actions will be met with severe consequences." Admiral Vrax's mandibles twitched, but he said nothing as the Council session adjourned. Licia's fronds curled slightly in relief, but she knew this reprieve wouldn't last. Cretan pride wouldn't allow it. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Elias Drake stood in the command bunker, reviewing the aftermath of their latest victory. The Coalition's retreat had bought humanity precious time, but Drake knew it wouldn't last. The next wave would come, and it would be bigger and deadlier. Dr. Anika Sato approached, a faint smile on her lips. "We've finished analyzing the remains of the Venerii neural relays. Their tech is light years ahead of ours, but we're learning fast. Give us a few months, and we'll have countermeasures in place." Drake nodded, his face grim. "We might not have a few months, Anika. We need something more than defense. We need leverage." As if on cue, the bunker's communications array lit up. The signal was encrypted, originating from deep space. Drake frowned and motioned for the feed to be opened. Licia's face appeared on the monitor, her fronts twitching nervously. Captain Drake, I'm transmitting on an unsecured channel. Time is short. Drake leaned forward. What's the situation? The Council has ordered a temporary stand down, but the Crethans are ignoring it. Their fleet is already regrouping, and they've called in allies from the outer territories. When they come back, they'll bring enough firepower to overwhelm your system entirely. Drake's jaw tightened. And you're telling us this because... Because you need a way to deter them, Licia replied. Something that forces them to reconsider. And you have an idea? She hesitated, then nodded. There's a weapon. An ancient technology buried on a derelict world in the Tyrax expanse. The Council decommissioned it eons ago, deeming it too dangerous. But if you can reach it first... Drake didn't hesitate. Send the coordinates. Within hours, Earth's fastest warp-capable ship, the Endeavor, launched from a hidden facility on Mars. A skeleton crew of Earth's brightest minds, led by Drake and Sato, set course for the Tyrax expanse. The journey was fraught with risk. The expanse was a no-man's land littered with ancient debris and treacherous spatial anomalies. As the Endeavor approached the derelict world, its sensors picked up something unexpected, a Venerii scout ship already in orbit. They're not here by coincidence, Sato muttered, her fingers dancing over the console. Drake's eyes narrowed. They're watching us. Or worse, waiting to stop us. The Endeavor powered down its main systems, drifting silently through the debris field. On board, tension mounted as the crew prepared for what could be humanity's most critical mission yet. Licia's voice came through the comms once more. Whatever happens, Captain, remember this, the Council underestimates you because they've never encountered a species like yours. Show them why they should have. Drake smirked faintly. We intend to. The Endeavor slipped through the debris undetected, descending toward the surface of the derelict world. In the distance, a colossal structure loomed, a weapon of ancient design, dormant but brimming with untapped potential. As they prepared to land, Sato's voice broke the silence. Elias, if we activate this, there's no going back. Drake nodded, his gaze unwavering. Good. Let's show the galaxy what happens when you push humanity too far. Above them, the Venerii scout ship began to move. The race for the ultimate weapon had begun.